Hello and welcome to this special episode of Newsdrum. It is about our pets. I'm sure all of us must be giving them a better life, but what would you call them when someone helps you give your lovely pet a better life? Doesn't better life sounds good? You heard it right. Today we have with us the co-founder of A Better Life, Anjali Kalachand. Welcome on the show, Anjali.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Anjali, please tell our viewers what is a better life.
So, A Better Life, we started A Better Life in 2001. I started the company along with my business partner, Sachin Shetty. And the reason behind founding the company, so I was already in the pet industry before that for about a year. So, in year 2000, I founded this company called NutriWolf. Which is a nutrition focused company where we did, customized meal plans and fresh food delivery service along with treats and a range of natural supplements for dogs and cats. So fast forward about 6 months from then, my business partner Sachin Shetty during the lockdown adopted an indie puppy, and at that time he realized that there were so many products that were available on the market that there was a lot of confusion in the sense right product for your pet and what was necessary and what was unnecessary and things that could be harmful as well. So that's where the idea of A Better Life was born, to kind of demystify pet parenting. So the idea was to create a website where people could come and shop for their pets, where they could trust the products that were available, in the sense that all the products that are on there are vetted and have been used by us. So the quality is top notch. Along with that, when Sachin had his puppy, the puppy came with a lot of skin issues and digestive issues and stuff. And in spite of, going to the vets and doing, all the regular treatments, we found that changing his nutrition really helped him a lot. And that's the exact same experience I had with my pet, which is the reason why, I decided to become a pet nutritionist, because I felt like there was a lot of information out there that was just missing for regular pet parents, in the sense that, what can you feed your dog to boost their immunity? What can you do to prevent digestive upset? Like little hacks sometimes, that maybe you know your vet doesn't tell you, maybe because they don't have the time, but also it just makes it a lot easier if someone is there that can give you that information. So essentially, A Better Life is a website that has products, but it also has a nutrition consult, a whole nutrition section, where it allows you to book a nutrition consult with me. Along with that, we also have like a calorie calculator. So in essence, if you have a dog or a cat and you're unsure about how much your dog or your cat should be eating, you can plug in a couple of details there. And, it's a little bit generic in the sense that, that it's just a calculator at the end of the day, right? However, if you wanted something that's more customized, or, where you wanted to speak to me, and if there were a couple of nuances that I needed to know as well, maybe regarding the pet's activity levels or things that have recently happened, so that's when the nutrition consult would come in, but the calculator is a good starting point. um, yes.
So, this calculator thing is actually fascinating for me
Mhm.
because usually we see very health conscious people use calculator for their own food items. Now you are actually promoting to use calculator for pets. Do you think it is really possible at large level?
Absolutely. So, see, it's very straightforward to use. So, essentially, what you'd need to do is, say, if you had a dog, you put in their date of birth, the calculator then back calculates, is this a dog a puppy? Because a puppy has different nutrition requirements. Is the dog already fully grown? At that point, the nutrition requirements are different. So it takes that into consideration as well. It takes into consideration whether your dog is neutered or spayed, because if your dog has been fixed, like sterilized, essentially, their hormonal balance changes. And because of this slowing down in the metabolism, you need to also cut back on the calorific intake of the animal. So the calculator also takes that into consideration. So it's a good starting point. I wouldn't say it's like gospel, but it is a good starting point.
Yeah. Before we proceed to our questions related to pets, I just wanted to know whether your venture is bootstrapped, number one. Number two, how big is the presence and how a person across cities can buy your products?
So, yes, it's bootstrapped at the moment. In the sense of our presence, like we predominantly are present in Mumbai. However, other than the fresh food items, everything that we have on the website ships pan India. So we have, a lot of clients in Delhi, for example, in Bangalore, in Calcutta. So we do service, markets pan India, and I have a bunch of clients who now have a very good rapport with, who've taken nutrition consults, from different parts of India, and hence who order a lot of our products. They may order the treats, the supplements, anything from the website. Really, there's no restriction except, unfortunately, the fresh food isn't available pan India at the moment.
So, summer is setting in, which is also the beginning of the travel season. As a pet parent, how much should I care about my pet when I am going on a vacation?
So, do you mean taking your pet on vacation or leaving your pet behind?
No, leaving the pet behind. In fact, let us talk about both the things.
No, I think honestly, even if you're traveling with them, like that whole travel process is something different, right? That they may not have gone through, be it a long road trip or a train journey and things like that. So all that needs to be factored in. You need to make sure your pet is comfortable in those surroundings. You need to make sure there are enough stops so they can, go about their business, have their pee and poo breaks and stuff like that in between. Also, how will you manage your dog's meals or your cat's meals during that travel time? So these are all like little things that you need to take into consideration. Although, also, if you're taking your pet with you, you need to have a basic like first aid, thing with you. So say, for stuff like cuts and wounds, if there's like digestive upset, like have a list of things that you take with you. Speak to your vet first and ensure that, at least you're covered for all the basic things that you may require whilst you're away.
How one should choose a pet care center wisely and carefully?
So I would say, obviously go and visit the pet care center. Definitely meet the people who are running it, see what kind of comfort you have with them, look at the qualifications of the people, ensure that they're trained. Also do a trial beforehand, maybe leave your pet there for a couple hours, see how comfortable they are. Maybe try and go for a facility that has like 24-hour CCTV that you can also access. Do some research, some digging around, and look at the reviews maybe that those people have. Try and contact people who have left their pets there. Always, use something that has been used before. Don't go for something that's completely brand new. Because then you have nothing to go off of historically, right? And at the end of the day, our animals can't speak. So we need to ensure their safety. So definitely, I'd say, primarily meet the people behind it, ensure that they are involved day to day, that there is some form of CCTV that you can check up on your pet, and then, leave your pet there for some time and see how comfortable they are. So definitely those things.
Great. Why is it necessary to increase care for the pets, especially in summers? Can you suggest a few tips to our viewers as well?
Yes, so unfortunately, this dreaded heat has set in and it's terribly hot even for us. So generally, dogs, they sweat via their paw pads or by panting. So unlike us, they take a lot longer to cool down. So, one thing to bear in mind is when you're taking your pet for a walk, start early in the morning, try not to walk in direct sunlight. And then the later walk should possibly be in the evening, once the sun is down and the heat is less. Basically, what this does, it just prevents overheating. Also, if you check the temperature of the ground they're walking on, like I always like to just, touch the ground and see how hot it is, because generally we are walking them on like pavements or the road and stuff like that. So those tend to get very hot if the sun is out and out quite strongly.
How can anyone avoid that pavement and roads or concrete roads in summers?
So it really depends where you live, I think, so, and what you have access to. It's always better if you can walk them on, a grassy or a muddy surface if possible. That's always better. However, while we are concerned about the temperature of the flooring, we're also concerned about the heat that's, emanating from the sun. It's like really hot, and right now in Mumbai, it's really humid as well. So it's tough for animals to cool down if they're going to go for a long walk while it's really hot. So definitely start earlier, check the temperature of the ground, because what happens, the paw pads can also burn. So you want to do those things and then ensure that they remain well hydrated and in a well ventilated place during the day.
Would you suggest to use shoes for their pets?
So it really depends. So honestly, like using shoes takes away from one of their sense, like basically they use their paws and they feel the ground, right? So it takes away from them sensing where they're walking and things like that. So I'm not a big proponent of shoes unless we're using it because of allergies. So say, for example, you have a dog who is, recurringly has allergies and you've tried a bunch of things, nothing is working. And now you believe that, okay, maybe the dog, is reacting to something in their environment. Now, unfortunately, we live in such times where all kinds of chemicals are being used everywhere in building societies, even outside on, pavements to clean the roads and things like that. So they are unfortunately coming into contact with all of that. And if you believe that that is something that is possibly reacting to the dog, then yes, use shoes. But otherwise, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, unless obviously maybe if it's in the monsoon and it's like a long-haired dog and it's, you want to keep the paws nice and dry, so that you don't, have to recurringly clean and dry the paws and the long hair and all that. Yes, from a convenience perspective during the monsoon, by all means. But if there are no allergies and if it's not monsoon and a long-haired dog, then I would say, there's no real need. So see, you want to avoid the risk of heat stroke, essentially, because they are not able to cool down, like I said, as easily as we do by perspiring, right? So they take a lot longer to cool down, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't take your dog out during the summers. No, make an effort to take him out early morning, late evening, because they do need to go out. If there's no exercise at all, that as well is pretty bad. So wake up a little bit earlier and do take them out, but try not to take them out in direct sunlight. Like definitely avoid that. And if you feel that your dog is panting or like panting excessively, then don't push it. Like be mindful of how your pet is feeling, and it's quite obvious with with the body language. You definitely be able to tell. And you can also carry a water bottle with you on walks, and hydrate a little bit, then give him a couple of licks of water along the way. You can even, if it's like too hot, like drizzle some water on their head, on their body and stuff like that to help them cool down.
Yeah. What would you tell those parents who think that dogs are accustomed according to the temperature, according to the atmosphere?
So I would tell those people that I hope they don't have a breed dog, that they have an Indie, because Indies have been around now for such a long time. They're genetically predisposed to the climate that we live in, much, much better than any of the breed dogs that are imported. And most of them are just not made for this climate at all. So firstly, get an Indie because it will make your life a lot easier when it comes to dealing with the heat. They don't suffer as much. But by the same token, a dog cannot be within four walls. So make sure that you do take them out, but be careful about the temperatures then as well, because even they do feel hot. At the end of the day, they're all built the same way. While, maybe the quantity of fur that they have is not the same, but they also, cool down only by, from their paw pads and by panting. So the cooling down process is slow. So ensure that, you're still again in tune with your dog and, overheating doesn't happen because that's pretty dangerous.
What is your take on offering dog food, home cooked food, or fresh food to a dog?
So, honestly, I think that would be very much dependent on the personal situation of the person, right? So, while I'm very much a proponent of fresh feeding as opposed to processed food, I think it's very much dependent on the person, their ability to prepare food or purchase, a fresh cooked meal for their animal, and at the same time, convenience as well. Like so, a lot of people gravitate towards processed food for various reasons. One, it's really convenient. It comes out of a packet, it's shelf stable. And also the packaging is really nice, right? It looks very attractive. And, while you said that, a lot of doctors say not to give it, there are others as well who say to give only that, that those meals are the only ones that are, complete and balanced. However, that never sat well with me. So my journey to become a nutritionist was very much based on my own personal journey. So like I told you, I have an indie, and at about 6, 7 months old, my indie just stopped eating. So before that, I was feeding him only processed packaged food because that's what the vet had told me to feed. And even though I asked the vet at several points in time, can I fresh feed? What do you think about that? And the answer was always no, it's not complete and balanced. You are going to have problems with the way your dog is growing. Their bones and joints, will not be, supported if you did a home cooked meal, for example. So, however, my dog left me with no choice. At about 6, 7 months, he refused to eat the kibble. And I went back to my vet at that point and I was like, hey, he's not eating, but can you tell me how much I need to feed? Because I'm not sure, And the answer was, I don't know. Take the bowl of food away after, half an hour, 1 hour. If he's not eating, let him go without food for a day or two, and then we'll see. And unfortunately, it developed into gastric upset for my dog because he just wouldn't eat the food no matter what I did. So that's when I took matters into my own hand. At that point, I wasn't yet a certified, companion animal nutritionist, but I went online, I did some digging, and then eventually I was like, okay, he needs to eat something. And when I changed his food in a very amateurish fashion that I did at that time, it was, I could see the change in my animal. Not only was he happier, but his digestive issues disappeared. His stool was better formed. He was not having those bile acid pukes. So I mean, I would say honestly, fresh food is far superior. It's only logical, right? If you're feeding fresh, but you need to feed species appropriate. So what I mean by that is, you can't be feeding your pet milk and chapati, for example. That is not species appropriate. They're not meant to be having so much lactose. They're not meant to be having wheat. Okay. A lot of people have these home cooked meals that are very like rice and carb heavy. Those aren't appropriate either. These animals need a lot of protein and they need meat source protein. So the bulk of the meat needs to always be, like a chicken or a buffalo or a mutton, like one of those proteins essentially. So yeah, I mean, if you can do that, I would say definitely, either consult a nutritionist or get your food from a source where you know that the ingredients are species appropriate, that the meal is tailored to your dog or cat, and go for it. However, if that's something you're unable to do, maybe if the household's a vegetarian household and they don't want to bring, meat in its cooked form into the house, for example, then maybe rely on processed food. But processed food also has various qualities. Okay, so there is some really low grade stuff out there, and then there's some better quality stuff. So always go for the better quality stuff, because the ingredients are far superior. And you can always add a little bit of fresh food to your pet's meal. So what I mean by that, maybe You can add some vegetables, cooked vegetables, for example, can definitely be added in small amounts to your pet's meals. Stuff like yogurt, most dogs tolerate. So you can, add a little bit of that as a snack. Certain fruits as well, like your bananas, apples, small quantities of everything. All those can safely be given to your pet. It shouldn't be the main meal. It can be an addition.
Whenever we try new dog food for any dog,
Yeah.
they usually reject the food at all if they do not like. So I just wanted to ask, I mean, for chicken, we know how the chicken tastes. Even if it is boiled, we know how chicken tastes. We know how bread tastes. We know how rice tastes. But we never know how a dog food tastes and why a dog likes one dog food and does not like another dog food.
So generally, they come in different flavors. Also, the ingredients vary. Some of them, so it could be that your dog gravitates towards a particular flavor. Maybe he's more in favor of, like a lamb variant as opposed to a chicken variant. Like it's possible. Um, it just could be the ingredients. So some of them, like it's always really important whenever you buy a packet of processed food to turn it over and look at the ingredient list, all right? Because the front of the package has all these amazing photos and pictures of fresh food and meats and fruits, and actually sometimes what's inside the packet is not that at all. So if you read the first few ingredients, it gives you an indication of the bulk of what that meal is made up of. So essentially, if it's stuff like rice, corn, animal byproducts, you need to stay away from that particular
Yes.
product because it's actually really substandard in quality.
How the companies ensure that the taste of a particular dog food is good.
So I guess they do a trial testing first to see how well accepted it is after they formulated it. Um, Unfortunately, I think some companies also add palatants to the meals. So what palatants are is just an artificial flavoring to make the meal more tasty. So definitely, if there are palatants in the meal, it means that the ingredients used are so substandard or not species appropriate that they're forced to use palatants to make the meal smell good and taste good for the animals. So
Is
those
there any method of food tasting?
they probably test the taste on a bunch of dogs that they have access to. So they probably taste and see test it and see what kind of reaction they're getting. So if the dog eats it, it's positive. If the dog rejects it, it's not. And then you go back and you reformulate.
Okay. So, rainy season will soon follow this summer. And
Yeah.
let us talk about the diseases, especially in the rainy season. In
Mhm.
fact, for summer season also,
You're talking about ticks and fleas.
there are many things. There could be corona, there could be so many things.
Corona.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think, see, during summertime, which I think even the monsoon is considered as summertime, there's a higher risk of ticks and fleas because of the weather. So whenever you're taking your pet out, what I would say when you come back, make sure you groom them, you check them properly. You essentially want to ensure that there are no ticks and fleas on your animal because they breed disease and they cause itchiness. And then that itchiness can also lead to secondary skin infections. So, like a little tip for pet parents, always when your pet comes back from a walk, after you've cleaned them, brushed them, check the in between the paw digits because that's where a lot of ticks like to hide. Sometimes the armpits, the base of the tail, and then just give them a general feel up for anything bumpy that you feel is stuck on their coat or their skin. All right, so that's how you check for ticks. And for fleas, they unfortunately are very quick buggers. They just run around, jump around, and it's really hard to find them. But if your dog is itching more than they normally do, then maybe use a flea comb and just run it through your dog and see, because that's a way that, you could catch the fleas. The other is maybe just giving them a bath because, if you give them a nice frothy bath and you leave the shampoo on for about 10 minutes, and then rinse it off, it in all likelihood kills off the fleas. So they die off that way.
Besides this fleas and ticks, what are the other common diseases during Rainy.
Monsoon. Yes. So one of the other common diseases is something called leptospirosis. So essentially, that is, generally found in the urine of rats. So that's how we catch it. Humans can catch it as well. So essentially, when there are, when there's a lot of waterlogging, and stuff like that, we have to be careful. Like if we're stuck in a waterlog, they say, oh, go get yourself checked. For our animals, also, it's similar, except that they sometimes tend to want to drink water from puddles, or walk into puddles and then come back home and start licking their paws. So these are all things that you need to be really careful about. Firstly, avoid the puddles at all cost. Secondly, you come back home. I mean, I follow quite a strict regime with my dog where I come back, he goes inside the shower cubicle, his paws are soaked. And then sometimes I also do a betadine soak as well, just to ensure that, it's completely kind of disinfected and there's nothing there that, he could fall sick from.
What are the necessary food items that a dog must have at least in a day, in a week? For example, some sort of oil, or for their better skin or better coat, or anything you could suggest which is generic and which is applicable to all pets.
So, I think my topmost addition to any diet would be an omega-3 fatty acid oil. So omega-3s are like an amazing thing. They help reduce inflammation in the body. They help with skin and coat health. They help dogs with cardiac issues. They also help in with cognitive function as well. So definitely like a nice fish oil is something that, I think would benefit all pets of all ages, be it a dog or a cat.
Great. Nice talking to you, Anjali. I'm sure many other pet parents like me must have enjoyed this show. Thank you so much and all the very best in your endeavor, whatever you are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was lovely speaking to you.